All right, you all, happy Christmas. If it's good enough for the king, it's good enough for me. Welcome to 2023's annual Christmas message. I've been thinking a little bit about some of the nativity characters this Christmas season and wondering how they can be so vital, so important to the story. And we tell their story all the time. We have it in nativity plays at school, and we have it on Christmas carols and on Christmas cards and wrapping paper. And they're iconic symbols. Some three wise men on some camels, some shepherds, some stars, some with some angels around them. All the stars aren't really all that important, I guess. I mean, they are important, but they're there all the time. These nativity characters, which are incredibly central to one of the most amazing moments in the history of everything, and yet they have this real kind of walk-on, walk-off cameo. They don't have major parts. We don't know much about them. I was thinking about the shepherds, and sure, I mean, their night is taken over. Their night shift is disrupted big time by a sky full of a singing host, an army of angels who invade their peace and quiet, wake them all up big time and send them down into Bethlehem. And they take some sheep with them, and maybe there's a stampede, I don't know. And they all get there and they see this baby, and I don't know how and what happens there, but I imagine a couple of them hold the baby, and I imagine a couple of them have got some parenting tips that they're able to give to the young parents of Mary and Joseph who don't really know what they're doing. And then I imagine they go home, because you can't stay that long in the middle of the night when you've just turned up at somebody's house with a bunch of sheep. Their night's big, but it's quick, it's fast, and then they go back to where they are. The Magi, however, well, those guys have invested stuff. They've invested time and energy. And again, we don't know a whole load about them. We know that they're stargazers and scripture readers and prophet believers. We know that they've been searching through telescopes and scrolls and conversation and scholarship. They've been searching for something for a long time. They've been observant. They've been keeping watch. They've noticed something in the stars. They had to be looking at the stars in the first place for that. They had to be searching for something. They see this something. They're not entirely sure what it is, but they load up. They chuck all their stuff in their packs. They sling them on some camels and they travel from the east. How far east? Nobody's really sure, but it's got to take a few weeks, maybe even a few months, to get from where they were to where Jesus is. And they have stuff. They don't travel light. These guys have got, they've got beds and tents and food and water and servants and scrolls and telescopes. They've got their stuff with them. I mean, I imagine they've got some security guards because they've got gold. These guys have invested a lot in their travel. They've invested time. They've probably said goodbye to families and friends and told them, "We're off west. Don't know why, don't know where, see you soon." They're so unsure precisely what it is they're looking for that their assumption is, well, let's just go and meet the local ruler and let's just get our way into the palace and talk to him about things. They don't really understand the politics of the area and how that might have been a bad move. And then finally, they arrive at a stable, a cave, a house. They might have, they weren't there on the same night. It didn't all happen in one night. Can you imagine what that would have been like? They might have turned up when Jesus was a baby. They might have turned up when he's 4. They might have turned up when he was 8. Either way, I imagine it's a completely underwhelming experience. If you've ever done it, you know this. You go and visit a new baby, and it's lovely, it's brilliant. You hold this baby, you get a hug. But even if that hug goes uninterrupted and there's no screaming, and you talk about baby stuff for an hour, well, once that hour's gone, you've got to hand the baby back because the baby's going to need a nap or a nappy or some food. And you're kind of done. You can't stay for that much longer. And you can't talk to the baby, and no matter how grand you think this baby might be, whether it's a prince or a pauper, it's just a baby. And if they turned up when Jesus is a little bit older, well, I don't imagine that's anything that's more comfortable. I mean, imagine that. These 3 guys, let's say, on camels turn up, park them outside, knock on the door. Mary answers, a little bit flustered because she's only got pesto pasta in the house for dinner and kids are kicking off. And she opens the door and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And there's these 3 wise people, these 3 Magi who say, "We'd like to visit the baby, the child, whoever it is, the king. We've got gold. Come on in." So they talk, and imagine, Jesus, come over here. Say hi to these 3 people. Would you tell them about school today? You ever met a kid who wants to do that? No. So they've spent time invested in. They've looked at the stars. They've studied the scriptures. They've read the scrolls. They've listened to the prophets. They've spent weeks or months traveling at their own expense from the east to the west. They've got involved with some kings and some local rulers. They've caused a minor political dispute. They've arrived at somebody's house and met the baby. They've worshipped the baby and given the baby or the child presents. And then they go. They just go home. That's it. Job done. Exit stage left. We all want Christmas to be fulfilling, meaningful, spine-tinglingly brilliant. We want it to be magical. And the assumption of our culture is that if you allow Christmas to come at you with enough force and with enough stuff, then Christmas will eventually do its thing, work its magic, make everything brilliant. If you throw enough tinsel, enough lights, enough magical trips, enough Instagrammable trips to an ice skating rink that's just popped up outside the co-op, if you can throw enough good TV, enough chocolates, enough food, enough family visits, enough nativity plays, crackers and anything else, Christmas carols and Christmas music, throw it all in, and that, from the outside, will go inside and will invade my heart and my mind. But what the Magi tell us is that the doorway into meaningful fulfillment, engagement with Christmas, well, that is through a gateway marked worship. That's all they do. They invest their time, energy, effort and money, and they worship. And when they exit stage left, there is not a hint of disappointment. There is not a hint of frustration. There is not the slightest little, I thought that was going to be better. No. They got to worship the King. And that made Christmas Christmas. So, this Christmas, there's going to be tinsel, TV, lights, Netflix, the lot. There'll be some great moments with family, there'll be some terrible moments with family, there'll be some good food, there'll be too much food, and there'll be everything that follows that. But in order to make Christmas Christmas, carve out some time and worship, because it all starts in here. And when you look at the baby, gaze at the baby, adore the baby, worship the baby, thank the baby for all that the baby means, well, then we find fulfillment. Happy Christmas, you all. Thanks for helping out, hanging out and being brilliant this year. Thanks for being part of our village. Looking forward to all that 2024 has in store for us. In the meantime, may you know peace and joy and goodness this Christmas.